Mark Napier's pea soup again allowed people to play with each other online, activating graphic forms and shape. So the screen interface became kind of a touch screen in which, or on which people from different parts of the world could basically touch each other, create the effect of ripples in a pool of water that could be touched from both sides. And Andy Deck and Mark Napier together created a project called Graphic Jam earlier on that also allowed this type of interaction. So as opposed to O'Reilly's idea of participation only being possible in 2.0 or finally being enabled in 2.0, there obviously were a lot of projects in the 1.0 version that allowed you to do that. 2.0, I think, ultimately just means an upgrade to more sophisticated platforms. In Perry Bartman with a movie camera in 2007, she allows people from all over the world to recreate scenes from Dziga Vertov's film, which is then created as a database kind of movie. Obviously, these kinds of broadcasts and databases would have been fairly difficult to support technologically in the 1.0 environment, although it certainly was possible. Or you have projects such as Chris Milks and Aaron Coblin's the Johnny Cash project, created in 2010, which allows people to create raw individual frames and collectively produce a new movie performed to one of Cash's songs. And Aaron Coblin works for Google, and last week for the first time I saw that Google is actually using a movie of the Johnny Cash project as an ad in the US for the Google Chrome browser, which also signifies, I think, this marriage from 1.0 to 2.0 here, just to give you an impression of what this looks like. And on the website you can navigate the project frame by frame. All of that is very much connected to ideas of digital labor, which I want to look at a little bit more closely. Obviously, you cannot disconnect cultural production from the economic models behind it. And new media, art, and cultural production in the network commons face a new set of economic challenges that have been outlined by Tiziana Terranova in her essay Free Labor, Producing Culture for the Digital Economy. Terranova draws upon Maurizio Lazzarato's idea of immaterial labor, which he defines as the labor that produces the informational and cultural content of a commodity. And Terranova argues that free labor on the net, which is based on activities such as building websites, modifying software packages, reading and participating in mailing lists, and building virtual spaces, is simultaneously voluntarily given and unwaged. It's enjoyed and exploited, and we have moved into a completely different economic model here, I think. In the 1.0 version of looking at economic models, eToy and their concept as configuring themselves as a corporation very nicely capture the idea of the information economy. eToy from the very beginning carried out acts that were designed to heighten its public profile and hence increase its value as a cultural entity. They would sell stocks, and what you see here is how they perform through different projects. Although mostly conceptual rather than money-making, eToy, through their cultural practice, very much captured ideas of the information economy. And if you look at the 2.0 version of digital labor and the background of Terranova's idea, you could again cite projects such as Aaron Coblin's The Sheep Market, created in 2007, in which he used Amazon's digital turn software, which is obviously meant for crowdsourcing. And through the MTurk service, he asked people to draw a sheep left from right, for which they were paid a very minimal wage. So what you see at the website are 10,000 sheep portraits. And then he also allowed people to buy a stamp collection of these sheep for $20, which of course created a lot of protest amongst the people who had been drawing their sheep for nothing, basically, and whose work was then being sold as stamps at a much higher price. And I think Höblin's quite cynical comment here very nicely captures how crowdsourcing works to some extent. And of course, it's not coincidental that he chose sheep to draw. He did another project called 10,000 Cents, in which people were asked to draw basically little snippets, redraw little images, and they were not aware of the fact that they were ultimately collectively drawing a bill. So the payment was also structured according to that collectively drawing money. This is also very nicely captured in Arakan and Erdogan's project User Labor, the user labor markup language, which allows you in this XML-based version to track what you are contributing in the Web 2.0 environment. So again, a conceptual project, but what this allows you to do potentially and conceptually is to track how many items you have uploaded, what you have tagged, and find a way of monetizing that and basically calculating what you should be reimbursed for in this process of digital labor and being a net slave. This is a project that hasn't been launched yet. It's one of the upcoming commissions on the Whitney's Artport site that I'm currently working on. The artists are Jonah Brooker-Cohen and Catherine Moriwaki. The project is titled America's Got No Talent. And what it looks at is a variety of reality TV shows ranging from America's Toughest Jobs to America's Next Great Restaurant, America's Next Top Model, and America's Got Talent. And it tracks in the bars of the American flag the tweets that are created for and around these shows, making a point of how much success in this environment is not based upon your talent, but upon popularity and the hype that is created around you. And the artists then take these tweets and mash them and retweet, basically feeding into that machinery of talent creation through popularity. One of the last things I want to look at here is Folksonomy 1.0 versus 2.0. In the 1.0 version, relatively early, we had projects such as Marek Walczak's and Martin Wattenberg's Wonder Walker, created in 2000, and this was commissioned by the Walker Art Center, hence the name. And what this project ultimately was a bookmarking site in which you would create little graphic symbol bookmarks that you could then collect and browse collectively. And this obviously predated the whole idea of sites such as Delicious. And you have less art projects now, but this early work by Wattenberg and Walczak really captures the idea of the folksonomy that we're looking at today and the move from 1.0 to 2.0. I also want to, as a last thing, briefly mention the idea of protest, collective action 1.0 versus 2.0. In the 1.0 version, you had notable projects such as the Electronic Disturbance Theater, Ricardo Dominguez and various collaborators, and Brett Stahlbaum was the one who created the FloodNet applet that allowed people to participate in virtual sit-ins and block sites. So here artists created blockades that allowed people to participate in sit-ins. We now have seen a move to platforms such as Twitter and Facebook for basically engaging in resistance, ironically, I think using a platform such as Facebook for that. So in Protest 2.0, we've been bombarded with images such as this, the Twitter revolution, which is a highly, I think, dubious concept, and I want to end that with the revolution will not be tweeted, as many people have pointed out. Why do we use the name of Western corporate technology to characterize a revolution and ignore basically the whole content and context of what this really is in terms of its people? I think this nicely illustrates McLuhan's point that the medium is always bigger to some extent than the message it transports, and that these revolutions and the Arab Spring becomes known to some extent as the technological platform that came in handy in spreading the word. What is very often ignored too is that it obviously works both ways. It's not like the governments aren't using these platforms for tracking people and working against them. So it's a highly complex landscape. And I want to end it here and open it up to questions. In conclusions, I think we can see that when it comes to artistic production, there hasn't been a huge move that finally enabled artists to operate in a different way, but very often artistic works anticipated and foresaw what the move to the next platform would be, and they also early on engaged with the characteristics of these platforms. I think what some of these projects at least show is a certain loss of innocence. If I look at the 1.0 projects, many of them are very poetic in their questioning of, let's say, the browser environment or platforms, while projects such as Face to Facebook or Google Will Eat Itself are far more radical, and as radical or invasive ultimately as the creators of those platforms are in playing out and engaging with the environment. But I think what the look at these art projects makes clear is that we're far away from the hype surrounding 2.0 in terms of platforms that finally enable participation. Their big advantage, again, being that many people, I think a bigger portion of the world is now engaging and broadcasting